hearing is being recorded and broadcast on Comcast Channel 8 and RCN Channel 82. If folks have any cell phones or electronic devices, I ask that you silence them now. We will take public testimony if folks have anything to offer. There's clearly no one here, but if someone walks in, they can offer public testimony. Please sign in if you wish to do so. I have a letter from Counselor Anissa Asabi-George, one of the at-large counselors. I will read it into the record. Counselor Campbell, I regret that I am unable to attend today's hearing on dockets number 0100, 0101, 0102 regarding grants for the Boston Police Department and Boston Fire Department. I want to thank Counselor Campbell for calling this hearing. I look forward to working with my colleagues on the council to provide Boston Police and Boston Fire with the resources they need to protect our city. I will closely review all testimony given here today and hope to contribute to any future conversations. Thank you sincerely, Counselor Anissa Asabi-George. Counselor McCarthy did not submit a letter as of yet. He is my vice chair of the Committee on Public Safety and Criminal Justice. He is on the same trip that Counselor Asabi-George is in, but he also sends his regrets for not being able to be here today. Today's hearing is on 3 dockets. The first is docket number 0100, message and order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend a grant of $2,250,000 from the Massachusetts Department of Fire Services to be administered by the Fire Department. The grant will fund the training needs of the Fire Department, including back to basics, fitness, videos, EMT training, and driver training. The second is docket number 0101, message in order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend a grant of $237,500 awarded by the Boston Fire Department. The grant will be used to fund the Boston Fire's hazmat training needs for dangerous chemical and hazardous spills, terrorism alerts and attacks, urban search and rescue, and tunnel and trench rescues. The last docket is docket number 0102, message in order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend a grant of $84,000 for the 27 Traffic Enforcement Program awarded by the United States Department of Transportation, passed through the Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security to be administered by the Police Department. This grant will fund high visibility enforcement of motor vehicle laws, including but not limited to speeding and aggressive driving, impaired driving, and occupant protection. These are the 3 grants we will be discussing today. We will start with docket number 0100. And I will let you two start from the Fire Department. If you could state your names for the record and your title, and you can decide who will go first to discuss docket number 0100. And thank you all for being here today.
My name's Kathleen Judge. I'm Deputy Commissioner for the Fire Department. Thank you.
And Chief of Operations, Jerry Fontana from the Boston Fire Department. Again, thank you for having us today, Council.
Thank you. Kathleen, do you want to go through a breakdown of docket number 0100 and what it will be used for, how long maybe you've gotten the grant, and if the funds have gone up or down?
Sure. So the first docket 0100 is for $2.25 million. It is for training at the academy, and it's primarily used for overtime. Is the predominant expense for about $1.6 million of that 2.2, which is used for back to basics training and O2X fitness. There's also other training needs like driver training and safety training, power training, and major event training. We also use it to replenish props, make repairs to the burn building. We also use it for videos, and because we update the videos on our target solutions, it's also for our license agreement. We also use it for other training materials and equipment and various workshops and travel that we do training across the country. That's primarily what we use that training grant for. It is an increase of $500,000 that we did receive over prior years, and we are hoping that we can also increase that in the future because the amount of training that we do need, we have increased the number of hours over the years. With this commissioner, we've increased the hours from roughly in the past of about 8,000 hours a year to roughly about 28,000 hours, but that hasn't really met the requirements of making sure we've covered the training of all of the firefighters. So we should try to increase that further, and we're going to pursue that. So we will pursue that with the state legislature to get that increased.
That's great to know. Currently, since the training is not reaching all officers or firefighters, and the goal obviously is to reach all of your men and women. How many do you reach right now? Do you have numbers?
Well,
of
we
how many
do.
folks?
We do try to reach them all. Unfortunately, what that does mean is we cycle through them.
Got it.
So what we would like to do is try to get to them every year. What that does mean is that we get to them about every other year. So it would be great to try to make sure that we get to them every year.
To have annual training for each and every
Exactly.
officer.
Exactly.
Very helpful. Anything you want to add?
No, it's just, again, it's been a great asset for us, and certainly we thank the legislature, the state, as well as the city council, the intergovernmental relations people, as well as the even the local, who really instrumental in getting this approved through the Senate, and without it, I can't imagine actually operating without it. We've grown so accustomed to the luxury of having this that it's becoming ingrained into how we do business and get the necessary training.
Very helpful. So I'm going to move on to docket number 101. If you want to give a similar summary and breakdown, that would be great.
Sure. So 0101 is our hazmat training. Also comes from the Department of Fire Services, so from the state, for $237,500. And similarly, although in the past we haven't used it predominantly for overtime, we actually have used it more for equipment. And for a lot of reasons, that is because they do a lot of tech rescue and tunnel and trench, and a lot of use it for Connex boxes and build those out on the island, down at Moon Island, to train and train the firefighters on how to actually do those types of rescues. So it required more equipment as opposed to overtime. And so, in fact, this grant, we actually would really like to see this triple if we could, because we would like to make sure that all the firefighters are cross-trained. We do try to make sure that firefighters know how to do tech rescue and all of that. But this is a place where, because of the heightened scrutiny around terrorism and issues with making sure that they can do rescues, I think you have seen probably on the news where there are a number of water hazards and a number of things that people are worried about with the threat of flooding and issues with weather conditions and things. Certainly with where FEMA has changed the flood maps and the threat of flooding in and around Boston, that we do worry more and more about that. And we would like to see this be something that could triple, so that we could make sure that the firefighters are cross-trained more so in the rescue and in the hazardous areas. So this is something that we are going to be looking to increase as well. It hasn't increased over the years, not unlike the training grant. So this is something that we are going to be focusing on.
That is very helpful. Back to the overtime, what you were just saying about overtime, how this grant, more of it is used towards equipment than overtime, but the training grant, some of it is obviously used for overtime. Can you explain what that means? So when officers are going, or firefighters are going into training, they're using overtime hours to do the training?
Well, what happens on the training grant is that because you need to backfill when you actually go out to be trained. And on that, what's different about the rescue and hazmat is that
Got it.
they actually are transferred to an actual company. So they're already in that capacity. So it's a little bit different than actually backfilling.
That makes complete sense. Thank you, Kathleen. Anything else you want to add?
No, especially regarding hazmat, if you look at, we have a very high capability in the city for hazmat response, and if you look at other areas of the state that don't have it and they need resources from outside their own area. It really holds up large geographical areas that would be, you would be unable to enter. We'd block them off. It would hurt transportation. It would hurt business. It would hurt commerce, schools, and everything else has that effect. But because we have a high level of, not expertise, but a high level of training, we respond to hazmat, relieve the situation, and the city basically goes back into a quicker operation. Where if we didn't, you would see long incidents that dragged on, just
Right.
trying to get the right type of capability in from elsewhere. So having a high level of training offered to the Boston Fire Department regarding hazmat pays dividends. But like anything else in public safety, if you don't see it, you don't realize it. But you would really see the effects of not having it had we not had the capability that we do have.
Right. So no, this is very helpful, and it's always helpful to hear how the council and folks on this at the local level can advocate with you guys, the union, as well as our state electeds to push for increases in these funding grants. So this is helpful. Thank you. Anything else you want to add on these two dockets before I move on to the third?
No.
Okay. Thank you. The next is docket number 0102. Carlos, I'll let you give a summary and a breakdown.
Good morning. My name is
Good
Carlos
morning.
Cannon. I'm a research analyst with the Boston Police Department. Today I'm presenting FY27 Traffic Enforcement Grant Program. It's a $84,000 grant in our 10th year of funding that funds 3 traffic mobilization efforts. These efforts focus around Drive Sober and Get Pulled Over initiative and Click It or Ticket. One of the mobilizations already occurred in December of last year, and the Click It or Ticket would occur, I believe, in May, and the last Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over would occur during August and September of this year. This is a recurring grant we get every year. The funding is pretty solid, and it funds overtime funding for each grant. Each mobilization is limited at $28,000 overtime funding.
If I remember correctly, when this grant came before this committee before, you also focus on specific intersections.
So that is a separate grant, the STEP grant, and that is focused on the top 10 intersections in
Got
the city, and that is a larger grant that also comes out every year, which just hasn't been released yet for this year. So we hope to have it soon in front of the city.
Okay. Can you, Carlos, can you quickly just explain, so the different mobilizations, the different date structures? I did receive that. I was confused by what those dates meant.
So there'll be 3 different mobilizations, and the state chooses when the mobilizations occurs by the
Okay.
they tell us in the grant when they want them to occur. So that chart I sent out previously was just the breakdown of when they will be happening.
And is this all across the city?
Yeah, so I believe for Drive Sober and Get Pulled Over, the Bureau of Field Services picks areas where they believe there'll be more issues, for whether it be drunk driving, things like that, places where they know there's a history of it. And for Click It or Ticket, it might be a little bit more spread out across the city.
Very helpful. Has this grant gone up or down over time? This is the 10th year, right?
Yeah, and
Yep.
it depends. It depends on how much funding the state receives from federal funding, and then they, depending on how they divide it up, usually it's around 84,000 though.
Anything else you want to add? That's very helpful.
Nope. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you guys for being here. Seeing that we have no one here to publicly testify on these grants, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.